We on Five Sports Podcast, The Spot, season number 4, episode number 25. And first and foremost, man, the weekend is here. I hope you guys have had a great week. Hope you guys have been checking out what's going on across the sporting landscape. And man, we geeked up on this episode because first and foremost, we got the Super Bowl set. Super Bowl 59 is set down in New Orleans. And it's going to come down to next Sunday, man, between the Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the second time that these teams have met in the last 3 years. So I can't wait for that one. And I got a special guest coming through, man. My man Steve, NFL correspondent, Dolphin correspondent, falling through as we circle back on the AFC and the NFC championship games. What cracked off in that. Man, it was just a wild weekend last weekend across the sporting landscape going into this weekend. Also, too, man, the NBA things are ratcheting it up as we get close to the NBA All-Star break. And that All-Star game format, to me, to quote my man Bubba Dub, is straight trash, man. Straight trash. They got to figure that out, man. You know, I was watching the NFL Pro Bowl Skills Challenge earlier, and which was yesterday. And it was a situation to me where I think the NBA is trending towards that. Because I think the All-Star game over the last couple of seasons have been straight trash. I mean, people like to see scoring, man. But at the end of the day, man, real hoopers want to see some kind of effort defensively, man. I mean, come on, fam. I mean, people don't want to see 301 to 289 in a game. I mean, it's just straight video game numbers. And so NBA and, you know, Adam Silver, you got to figure that out, man, just to make it a more competitive situation. I think they, pleaded with the players a couple years ago. Larry Bird, went in the locker room and pleaded with these guys to bring some kind of effort. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about the do-re meat, man, and the paper. And when you have guys now making $50 million a pop, it's straight business decisions at this point. And it's just not a good look for the NBA, and that's why we've seen the ratings been in the tanks. And so we'll see what it does, man, moving forward. But congratulations to the All-Stars. Definitely the starters and the reserves have been set. We might circle back on that just to give a breakdown of all the participants in regards. Also, too, Jimmy Butler, man, the Jimmy Butler saga continues. He definitely wants his way out of Miami. He had a crossroads with Pat Riley. We'll see how that thing do as well. And, word on the street is, one of the teams that may have had some interest in Jimmy Butler has been the Golden State Warriors. And Golden State, word on the street is what I've been hearing is that Steve Kerr as well as Steph Curry is not in favor of Jimmy Butler as far as the locker room situation. And this is something that I said a couple episodes ago with Jimmy Butler, is that at the end of the day with JB is that, yeah, once you leave Miami, you have a sullied reputation at this point. Is that real organizations and real teams, bro, they not trying to rock with you like that. And so what's going to end up happening is that, yeah, you want that big bag of money, but you probably get that big bag of money just on teams that are not contending. At the end of the day, JB 35 years old now, man. So I'm not sure how much, tread is left on them tires. And so we kind of see what's going on with that, man. But another individual that's definitely in the trade market in the NBA, this came out a couple days ago, is De'Aaron Fox out there with the Sacramento Kings, the light the beam Sacramento Kings. And I ain't gonna front, De'Aaron Fox is one of my favorite players in the NBA. I never forget getting into a heated debate with a friend of the show, my man Shad, when we was talking about him and Lonzo Ball. And I said that, man, De'Aaron Fox was the guy. He was the guy. And no disrespect to Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo Ball, came back, from the injuries, definitely with my Chicago Bulls. So I wish, Lonzo the best just in regards. But I thought that De'Aaron Fox would be a better NBA player. And, just for him and that whole situation out in Sacramento, he didn't want to sign the extension with the Kings. They offered him a big bag of money and he kind of declined that whole situation. And I knew this was going to happen at some point to where he was going to be put in the trade market, just from a simple fact of where, you're not going to sign the extension. The team not going to let you walk for the free ski. So at the end of the day, I think that the Sac Kings, they've been a tumultuous, organization for years, man. They always seem like they're in their way. They fired Mike Brown. They brought in Brought in Doug Christie. I thought that was a good move to bring in Doug Christie because he has them now more so on the defensive end. They've been, I believe, about 11-2, 11-3 since, Doug has gotten there with the organization. So, they were actually trending in a positive direction, back into the, the playoff fold in the West, because you never really know what may happen in the West, especially, injury here, injury there. And looks like Fox may be moved before the trade deadline. And so, word on the street is his preferred destination is the San Antonio Spurs. I think if that is true, I think the San Antonio Spurs need to get on the phone ASAP, just to try to make a deal with the Sacramento Kings and bring him in. He is a native of Houston, Texas, the Houston, Texas area. And, I got kind of a heads up on this guy a few years back, when he was down there in Houston. A few of my youngins actually competed against him in high school and gave me a heads up like, hey, this guy's that deal. And then I seen him move on to the University of Kentucky. And now, with the Sac Kings. And like I said, the Kings have some real decisions to make. They brought in DeMar DeRozan. Like I said, they fired Mike Brown, brought in Doug Christie. So I thought they were trending kind of in the right direction. But if they trade De'Aaron Fox, depending on what they get back for him, this will throw a real wrench in that whole situation, man, for them. So we'll definitely see what that thing do moving forward as well out there in Sacktown. Then I had another interesting tidbit that came across the desk, man, that I was taking a look at, man. And this is very, very interesting. And it's so on the betting side. And first and foremost, man, shout out my man Mako and East Aline, Mr. Taylor Street from the Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast. Now, I was on this show last episode or so ago. Yeah, just a little breakdown of the NFL playoffs. Just my thoughts just in regards to that. So I appreciate those brothers for having me on. Also, too, sending your boy a little merch. I appreciate that as well. And just in that vein and in that sector, man, it's been a word on the street is that scary Terry Rozier, currently of the Miami Heat, he's in a betting probe with the NBA. And as you know, sports betting is just across everywhere, man. Everybody is sports betting, just across the board. I mean, that gate has definitely been opened up. The NBA is definitely on board with that. Know you guys remember the whole situation with Jontay Porter, Michael Porter Jr.'s older brother, got banned by the NBA for betting. And the NBA, which they did a smart thing. And what they did was they sat back. And for guys who are on two-way deals and guys who are on the lower end of the pay scale in the NBA, they're not finna put them in any prop bets for obvious reasons. I thought the NBA actually got that right. Now, with Scary Terry, he's a little bit different. He's not a two-way guy. He's not a guy that's on the fringes of, say, the NBA. He's made him a nice little coin in the NBA, and he's a good player. I love Scary Terry when he was at the University of Louisville. And so, word on the street is that, he's under investigation, potentially, taking himself out of a basketball game, only playing a few minutes in the basketball game, and, some of the sports betting entities, because, they use analytics and so forth, man, just to peep game, for guys who trying to cheat the system. And so we'll see what that thing do. And I think it's very, very interesting. I think the whole situation with Jontay Porter, less than a year or so ago, it opened up a big can of worms as far as, like I said, guys who on the lower pay scale just in pocket with, potentially organized crime or just people just trying to, skirt the system. So I thought that was very, very interesting when I saw that. But we'll see what it do, man, So first and foremost, man, if your first time listening, I appreciate your ear. If you're an OG of the show, man, I appreciate the check-in and follow through once again. I appreciate all the love and the feedback. I appreciate your ear. Coming up, the rest of the show, We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. And yeah, man, we finally in the Super Bowl, man. Super Bowl number 59. We got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And man, we had a wild championship last Sunday. You guys got a couple weeks before the Super Bowl really jump off, and I got my NFL correspondent, Dolphin correspondent, Steve in the building, man. What's going on, sir?
Doing well, brother. Doing well. Thank you for having me on. Looking forward to the Super Bowl as well.
So, man, we're going to get right into it, man. What was your thoughts, man, on that epic classic, man, between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs? We had close to 60 million people view that game, man, one of the highest rated games in a long, long time, man. What was your thoughts, man, on the AFC Championship game, brother?
I mean, about what we expected, right? An offensive performance sprinkled in with some big plays on defense. Basically everybody knew the referees were going to get involved some way, somehow. There's going to be a crucial call, and, there's going to be a play at the end of the game that's going to decide it. So, I mean, it basically gave us everything we expected. Repeat of the regular season game, only this time there was bigger stakes. And, part of me thought that the Bills could have pulled it off. Part of me was hoping that the Bills pulled it off, even as a Dolphin fan. But, the Chiefs always find a way. They always find a way to win. And not surprising at all that, they dialed up a perfect blitz at the perfect time late in the game. And that was it.
Yeah, man. And, I mean, you nailed it. And my prediction going into this game was that I thought Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes was going to basically do it to a draw. Whether it be them both putting up 200 yards passing, a couple touchdowns in those plays, or 400 yards passing just in regards. So, I just felt overall that it was a situation where Steve Spagnuolo, or on the other side for the Buffalo Bills side on the defensive end, it was going to come down to the final possession of the game and a defensive play at the end of the day. And that's what we got, man. And, Buffalo, they can't be mad, man. They had the ball, with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left to drive down the field and make a play. And, Josh Allen tried to make a play. But, Kincaid, he was unable to pull that boy in, man. So, yeah, that was crazy, man. What are the thoughts you seen from that AFC Championship clip, man?
Well, the fumble early on, obviously Buffalo scored very early on, but the Chiefs have a great way of mitigating those turnovers. Usually when a team loses a turnover battle, they lose. The Chiefs, even when they make mistakes, they have a defense that mitigates it, and they have a defense that keeps the other team from running away from it. So they're always lurking, even when they're trailing, and even when things don't go right, they're always there. And it never snowballs. It never gets out into 2 or 3 score lead where they have to magically try to come back. That doesn't happen. They're in everything. So the defense, Chris Jones dominated the middle. I thought Buffalo's defense, they didn't really answer the bell as much. They made some plays, but that crucial period, that late in the game, especially on that last drive where they had all 3 timeouts, they were using their timeouts to stop the clock. Their season came down to basically getting the Chiefs off the field, and their defense couldn't do it, and the Chiefs' defense did. And ultimately, that's what happened. They got more talent, the Chiefs do, on the defensive side of the ball. So, like you said, if the offense, if the quarterbacks are great quarterbacks, and they kind of even each other out, it boils down to the defensive side of the ball. And the defensive side of the ball, that advantage goes to the Chiefs. They got the better playmakers. They got the guys, that get more pressure up front. And they got a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator who, already has 2 Super Bowl rings, already had 2 Super Bowl rings under his belt before he even got to the Chiefs.
Yeah, man, and yeah, I was spot on with my analogy. Now, I predicted the Bills to win the game, but I thought it was going to be a situation of where kind of how it played out, basically, and that the Bills was going to be the ones that got the stop. And, obviously Kansas City was the one that got the stop. I mean, you saw how emotional Chris Jones was on the sidelines, man, and they just wanted it bad, man. You know what I mean? And that just shows you the heart of a champion, man. They wanted it real bad, and I think the MVP of the game, as you mentioned, was Steve Spagnuolo. He was the MVP of the game. I mean, that corner blitz, that was it. Obviously you put that on top of the 4th down and 1, the 4th down tush push stops that they had as well. And I think that, it was revealing from Buffalo's standpoint because they did the film work on Buffalo. They knew that Josh Allen really was going to sneak to one side. You know what I mean? He's been like that consistent all season long. They predicted it right. And boy, was it an epic finish just in regards to that one, man. So the Chiefs, man, they move on to the 3rd consecutive Super Bowl appearance, man, for a shot to win a three-peat for them for the Super Bowl. And on the other side, man, we had, in the NFC side, we had the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Washington Commanders. And that thing got ugly. Boy, did it get ugly, especially in the second half, man. It was one of those Rocky situations like Rocky IV, man, when Apollo fought Drago. Stop the fight, throw the towel. That's how it was to me in the second half of that Commanders and Eagles game, man. But what was your thoughts, man, on that Eagles and Commanders clip?
Well, I thought that Washington was ahead of the curve, and there's no way that they were going to beat the Eagles. But you were hoping, though, because, Jane Daniels was so hot, and he had such a performance against the Lions. But the Lions don't have a defense, and the Eagles do. And so, even early on where they were moving the ball on the Eagles, you always felt that they left something on the table. They were getting field goals. They did score a couple touchdowns, but again, it wasn't enough. You always felt that it wasn't enough to beat the Eagles, and then the turnovers came into play, and then all of a sudden things just got out of hand. But it's what I thought. They're too soon. The only thing they had going for them is because typically it's hard for a team to beat you 3 times a year in a season. That I think was the only thing that they had going. You would hope that the previous losses to the Eagles, they kind of learned from them, and they kind of figured out a way that they could have potentially kept the game close. But again, too soon and too much firepower on the other side of the ball. Saquon's a monster. Every Giant fan is probably pissed, but at the same time jealous that he's an Eagle now. But that's going to be that was the storyline here in New York. When they played, but too much firepower on both sides of the ball, and Jalen Hurts didn't have to do much. All he had to do was hit a few throws, which he was able to do, and they capitalized on that. Washington's secondary was trash. We saw that even with Marshawn Lattimore. That late season pickup didn't really pan out. He was more of a casualty that game. Got eaten up by A.J. Brown. It's a team that's on the rise. They're just not ready. The Eagles are primed for this position, and they got playmakers. Not only playmakers, but they got guys who are tested in this kind of situation. Tested in playoff football, and that was a huge advantage at the end.
Yeah, and the experience was huge, man. The experience was huge in that football game. It just was a situation where Saquon, he kicked it off. Obviously, Washington went down the field. They had a couple 4th down conversions, but they only was able to get 3 points out of it. And, one play, soon as, the Eagles was able to get the football, it was just like a home run shot. One play, wow, 65, close to 65-yard touchdown right down the field. And I think that was the table setter for Philadelphia, meaning that it showed early in the game, like, look, dude, y'all can't stop the run, and it just made Jalen Hurts' job easier. Obviously, as you know, Steve, is that Washington plays a lot of man on the back end, as you mentioned a little earlier with Lattimore. And he wasn't the shutdown guy that they anticipated when they got him from New Orleans. And so now when you play one-on-one on the back end, you got to deal with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And both of them was able to make plays. And with them, they don't need that 9 catches, 140-yard type of game. They just need a couple catches, especially getting in the end zone, and it's a wrap for you. So Saquon kind of set the table for the whole offense. Shout out to Jalen Carter. I mean, this kid has been outstanding at defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jordan Davis, the Georgia connection. He had some big plays in that football game. And so, as you mentioned, Detroit, the week before for Washington, their defense was hot garbage. And you finally played a unit that ended up this season with the number one defensive unit in the league. So, yeah, shout out to the Eagles. They move on. We got a Super Bowl rematch. It'll be, the second time that these two teams have played, say, in the last 3 seasons. So I can't wait for that one, man. And, woo, boy, it's going to go down, man, in Super Bowl 59 down in New Orleans, man. Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. I can't wait for that one, man. And first and foremost, man, I appreciate your check-in, man. I appreciate, obviously break down the AFC and the NFC championship games, respectively. We definitely got to circle back, man, on that Super Bowl situation, man, and who you got in the Super Bowl coming up in Super Bowl 59. But, man, I appreciate the fall through and the check-in, brother.
Appreciate it, Not. Yeah, definitely we'll kind of break down the Super Bowl and see, our predictions. But, one thing's for sure, it's going to be a great game. I think this probably will be somewhere along the lines of a repeat performance from the last Super Bowl, where it comes down to the last guy who has the ball.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like on my end as well, man, that it's just going to basically be a slugfest, and whoever get the ball last or whoever turn the ball over less is going to win the football game, man. So, first and foremost, man, I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate all the love and the feedback. I appreciate your ear. We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. All right, man, before we get out of here, we got the NBA All-Star Game coming up, and the NBA has come out with a new format, which, I put on record, man, is straight trash to me, man, just a 14 pickup. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, I'm one to admit, man, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So I'm definitely going to check it out just to see what it do. But it appears to be just basically a glorified pickup game, man. So we'll see. But before, I trash, the All-Star format and all of that, like I said, which I'm having my reservations about, I do want to send a shout out, man, to the people that made the All-Star team. It's still a big time, good look for the players in the NBA. And with the Eastern Conference, I'll start with the starters, man. We got, pretty much, a oldie but goodie, man, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, making another All-Star game. We'll see what the Milwaukee Bucks do this season, man. They just been kind of up and down. It was a team that, earlier in the year, I kind of trashed it a little bit, man, because they was going nowhere fast. And there's been a lot of talk about Doc Rivers and what he's been able to do in Milwaukee since, he got the head job halfway through last season. But you never know. I think the Bucks is primed for a trade, man. I just think that they needed a little bit more firepower, especially from the wing position. You got Chris Middleton came back into the fold. But we'll see what the Milwaukee Bucks do moving forward, man. But shout out to Giannis again, averaging 31 a pop. Believe he's second in the league in scoring, man, doing what Giannis do. Also, too, man, I got to shout out Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, there was a lot of speculation, especially last year. You had the whole J.B. Bickerstaff situation, the coach in Cleveland. They moved on from him and brought in Kenny Atkinson. And boy, it's been a whole new situation in Cleveland. Not saying they was a bad basketball club before Kenny Atkinson got there, but he's definitely taking them to a new level. They got the second best record in the league. Donovan Mitchell has just been playing that, what I call superstar ball. Now, his numbers, he right at about 24 a game. They don't super pop out at you. But if you watch Cleveland play, man, he's definitely been a guy that's, one, been that closer for them, and also, two, been a guy that's been able to move the ball and, not hog the ball and definitely, share with his teammates. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell on an all-star clip. Also, too, man, we got Karl Anthony Towns, man, Cat, man. And I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, man. When they made that trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves, man, I was one to say that Minnesota won the trade. Boy, was I wrong. Karl, man, he's been playing some good ball. And to me, I think the most impressive stat with Karl Anthony Towns, man, is his rebounding, man, averaging almost 14 rebounds a game. Cat, I put it out there, man. I thought he was a glorified jump shooter. And sometimes he still go to the J too much. But at the end of the day, man, when you're getting 14 rebounds a clip, man, I can't be mad at you, man. Congratulations to him. The Knicks, I think they are definitely a legitimate contender. We'll see what Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose, the general manager of the New York Knicks, do moving forward to this ball club. Let's see if they make some moves before the trade deadline up in New York. Also, we got to mention his teammate, man, Jalen Brunson, man. Big time pickup, in the All-Star game clip starting for him. Averaging right at about 26 points a game this season, man. About close to 8 assists a game for Jalen. And I'm just proud of Jalen Brunson, man. Just from his days at Villanova, I got a chance to watch Jalen in high school, man. Out in the Chicagoland area when his dad, Rick Brunson, was an assistant under Tom Thibodeau, man. He's putting in work back then. He's still putting in work. Definitely I got a fondness for him just being a mutual left-handed guy, man. And, Jalen, like I said, he's turned himself into a superstar after leaving the Dallas Mavericks, going over to the New York Knicks. And like I said, we'll see what the Knicks do moving forward this season, man. The sky's the limit for them, man. They can try to get this team to the NBA Finals. It's been a long time since they've been there, roughly 25 years since the Knicks have been to the NBA Finals. Let's see what it do. Then we got Jason Tatum, man. This is a guy that, for a dude that has won, an NBA championship, people still just, I don't know if they putting enough respect on Jason Tatum's name. And I think part of that is just simply due to the ball club that they've been able to build in Boston. Jaylen Brown, winning the NBA Finals MVP last season. I just think that Joe Mazzulla, he's definitely improved as a head coach. And so I just think that, for them, it's kind of like being a part of an all-star band. And I think that Jason Tatum, he's still been the same guy. I mean, his numbers are still virtually about the same, averaging close to 27 a pop. And so I just think that Jason, man, people may have to put a little bit more respect on Jason, on JT's name, man. And then for the rest of the reserves, man, I'll just go quickly through them, man. Got Jaylen Brown, who I just mentioned. Shout out to Darius Garland, man, getting back as an all-star again, man, after a couple seasons away from being an all-star. Shout out to my man Evan Mobley, man. I'm loving the maturation of Evan Mobley up in Cleveland. I think this younger man, he's kind of a combination of like a Chris Bosh. But I'm liking what I'm seeing, man, and I think Cleveland has a legitimate chance to get to the NBA Finals this year. Also, shout out to Tyler Hero. It's been a whole thing up in Miami, man, but he's been playing some consistent ball. He got into it with Pat Riley himself last season, but Tyler's taking a high road, man, averaging 24 a game and looking good in the process. So shout out to him. Also, we got Pascal Siakam making the team. Cade Cunningham, his first time making an all-star squad for the Detroit Pistons, averaging right at 25 a pop. And then we got Damian Lillard coming in as well, super OG for the Milwaukee Bucks. As I mentioned a little earlier, we'll see what Milwaukee do for the rest of the season moving forward. Not sure, man. They can easily be either an early exit in the playoffs or a team that may surprise some folks and go deep in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. Then in the Western Conference, man, this is pretty much kind of easy as far as the starters is concerned. I think they did get everything right. You got Stephen Curry, being Steph Curry, we'll see what the Warriors do, around the trade deadline for them. They could be in the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes, but word on the street I'm hearing they're not really interested in Jimmy Butler. We'll see what it do. But Steph, man, outstanding shooter, one of the greatest shooters or the greatest shooter of all time in the league. But he's only averaging 22 a game this season, man. I think at the end of the day, people forget that, Steph is not a spring chicken, even though he's playing still at a, all-star level, obviously. But Steph is not a spring chicken, man. So we'll see what the Warriors do with this ball club moving forward. We got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander started as well. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is in pole position to win the MVP award. He finished second last season. I think this year might be the year for him. OKC has the best record in the league. We also, got Nikola Jokic. I mean, just the numbers he putting up, man. I mean, like I've never seen this before, just with his stat line, man, and just the shooting splits. I mean, the man is shooting over 53% from the field, close to about 48% from three-point land. And just Jokic, man, he's just been that guy. And I think he's the best player in the NBA. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there, people. I think he's the best player in the league. I mean, it's nothing that the man can't do. And, for Denver, it's really just about Jamal Murray, man, and just the others. See if Denver can move along and win them another NBA championship. We'll see what that do moving forward as well. Also, we got what I call the super OG section, man. We got Kevin Durant, KD. surpassing 30,000 points, man. Congratulations to him. He's one of the greatest scorers in NBA history and just a marvel, man. Like I said, this guy's not a spring chicken either, man, averaging 27 a pop, but he's still playing like he's 27 years old, man. So shout out to KD, another all-star game for him. Also, too, we got LeBron James, super OG, 40 years old, man, averaging close to 24 points a game. Just still a major accomplishment, man. I'm not even going to hate on LeBron James. I think, for him, just being at 40 years old, he's having a good year. We'll see what the Lakers do moving forward, because I think that's really the only thing that is really on his mind is trying to win another championship in Los Angeles. Then we got the reserves. We got Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. Edwards could have easily been a starter. I just think that Minnesota, man, just their record this season, I think it pushed them really kind of to the reserve role, averaging 26 a pop. We got a guy that I need to put a little bit more respect on his name, too, because I drug him in the mud last season, and that's Mr. James Harden. He's really shut up and hooped, went back to the Los Angeles area, which is his hometown area, and he ain't been doing nothing but hooping. You ain't heard nothing from James Harden other than hooping, man. And shout out also to Ty Lue. He's done an outstanding job with that ball club this season. A lot of people think that Norman Powell should also made the reserves. I agree with that as well, because he leads the team in scoring, man. He's had an outstanding year. But James Harden, like I said, man, another all-star game for him. He's having an outstanding season so far for the Los Angeles Clippers. Another left-handed master, man, as well. So shout out to James Harden on that note. Also, too, man, we got Sengun, man, from the Houston Rockets, man. And the Houston Rockets could be a what I call a lightning rod, man. This team is exciting to play. Ume Udoka, man, he's done an outstanding job with that ball club down in Houston. Fred VanVleet, and you just got a lot of little pieces, man. And yeah, I got to tip my hat to him, man, because this team just plays at a high pitched level with a whole bunch of energy. Shout out to Jalen Green, he's done an outstanding job. Shout out to Twin, man, he's been doing an outstanding job, man. Asar Thompson. I love what I'm seeing from down in Houston, man, and I think this team can go on a nice little run in the NBA playoffs coming up. So we'll see what it do for Houston. Also, too, man, we got another guy, man, who could be the face of the league, man, in another 1 to 2 years, man, and that's Victor Wembanyama, man, averaging 24 a pop, about 11 rebounds a game. His game is just getting better and better, man. And, I'm not going to say I was skeptical of the kid coming into the NBA, but we never really seen a guy like a unicorn like this, man. So shout out to Victor, man. He's been playing some real good ball, man, this season for the San Antonio Spurs. I do think that they should make that move, man, and trade a couple pieces, man, to try to boost this team up a little bit. And when I mean that, I mean that they should bring in the Arian Fox of this ball club. I think it'll take the San Antonio Spurs to really a playoff contending level. Also, too, man, can't forget about my man AD, Anthony Davis, man. He's done a good job for the Lakers this season, outside of, crying and complaining about having another big man. I think AD, man, it's a big-time accomplishment. Chi-Town's finest, man, so I can't put a lot of dirt on your name, bro. But at the end of the day, man, it's just you and LeBron just got to shut up and hoop, fam. I think that the organization for the Lakers, they made some trades and some little moves, but at the end of the day, man, it's only a certain amount of moves that the Lakers can make at this point, man. You and LeBron just got to take it to another level, man. So we'll see what the Lakers do moving forward. And the final two gentlemen on the list, man, I got Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. He's a guy that's similar to Karl Anthony Towns, man. I thought this kid shoot too many threes, especially being that tall, man, averaging 6 rebounds a game, man. I mean, come on, fam. But at the end of the day, I can't be mad at him, man, because he's definitely been vital to the Memphis Grizzlies, averaging roughly about 23 points a game for them. So we'll see what Memphis do, man. They fell off a cliff last year. They had a whole bunch of stuff off the court, and they back into the swag again, man. So Memphis could be another dark horse team, man, in the Western Conference coming up in the playoffs. Then the final spot, man. This is a guy that's made his first All-Star club, man, and just a team with the best record in the league. And that's Jalen Williams, man, averaging 21 a pop. I mean, this guy has developed just big time, man, since he came into the league coming out of Santa Clara. He's a guy that, I seen him play at Santa Clara. And I was like, man, I knew he would be an NBA player without question. But as far as, just his upward trend in the league so far, I got to tip my hat to Jalen Williams, man. He's done an outstanding job, and we'll see what Oklahoma City do moving forward for the rest of the season. I think for them, man, I think the big-time situation for them is really just the others, man, outside of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams is one of the others. He's been playing outstanding. I just think that they front court got to get themselves in order, man. And Chet Holmgren is really about him being healthy, man. And so we'll see what Oklahoma City do moving forward. Like I said, they got the best record in the league, man. So this is a team that they may get to the Western Conference Finals, I believe, but I believe that OKC is matchup dependent in the West. It just all matters about who they match up with, man, in the Western Conference. And so, man, that's my look in the NBA, man, with the All-Star, man. And like I said, we'll see what it do with the new All-Star game format, man. I'll definitely be tuning in and check it out. And like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, man. But we'll see, man. So, first and foremost, also, too, before we get out of here, man, just want to send a shout-out, man, to the families, man, who've lost loved ones in that plane crash, man, outside of D.C., man, just with the helicopter. I know it was a bunch of U.S. figure skaters on that plane. Also, too, was other people on that plane outside of, say, the U.S. figure skaters, man. So definitely condolences out to the families. And once again, man, I appreciate all the love and the feedback. I appreciate your ear. We on Fire Sports Podcast.